There's nothing that is coming to save us. We're in the honeymoon period right now. There's a connection that is already happening that will only intensify, which will, replace human connection more and more.
Anita Tomecki is a leading human behavior expert, speaker, and coach.
Now she is asking, will AI replace us?
It might be that we get ourselves this robot boyfriend or girlfriend because that's the thing that's going to make us feel better. And it's like someone being nice to you constantly is not the answer to your problems. And it's like, what's the answer to our problems is it can only ever be us doing the inner work.
Am I choosing to go on social media rather than go to the gym? Am I choosing to, use AI as a friend rather than going to meet up with a friend?
I mean, it's happening already, so we can't deny that it's already happening. Be okay with what you're doing because you're choosing it, and stop resisting and fighting and judging the reality that you're choosing. If you wanted to go for a walk, you wouldn't even tell yourself you wanted it, you'd just be walking. What is the potential of us as humans if we still want to have relevance on this earth? There's not that big a bucket of stuff to learn. And if the AI is learning it that quickly, it just shows we're not really that unique.
Are you optimistic for humans?
It's such a hard question, eh?
Hi, Anita. Thank you for joining me today.
Thanks
I think
for
my
having
first question is, will AI replace that human connection that we all search for?
Big question to start off with,
Yeah.
Matt. Thanks for having me on. The answer is yes, I would say. Yeah. And I know that is contrary to the word on the street at the moment, but I am already seeing it happening. So I'm watching certain people already who are spending more time, on their own, whether it's gaming, whether it's, even now getting coaching through their AI, even through the means that we've been going for years through Facebook and Instagram and all the rest of it. It's already happening. So there's a connection that is already happening that will only intensify, which will, replace human connection more and more for sure.
I mean, I guess most of the talk at the moment is how AI is going to be taking jobs.
Yeah.
And if it takes jobs, in theory, we've got more time on our hands, less people working, which that's a whole discussion in its own. But then the thing we'd fall back on, and we saw that during sort of the COVID period and the lockdown, we fall back on the connections we have with people.
Yeah.
But you're saying AI is going to start taking that as well.
Yeah, and this is the thing. I definitely think, who knows what's going to ultimately happen, ultimately, like as the future rolls on. But I definitely think there will be a period of more, isolation, people using. It's happening already, so we can't deny that it's already happening. And I think, from a human behaviour perspective, when I look at, the work that I work in, the ultimate connection that we're looking for as human beings isn't actually connection with anything other than ourselves. And so what the AI is doing is it's helping us to become distracted from our thoughts, from our thinking mind, and more connected in. I know this sounds a bit, fucked, but it's to be more connected in with self, because we're no longer in our heads torturing ourselves with all of that self-talk. We're kind of connected with something which is in turn connecting us in with ourselves and switching off some of the really torturous stuff that we put ourselves through day in, day out. So the misconception around this connection being in someone else is actually, it's the connection within ourselves that we're looking for. And whatever means we find it in, AI is just another one.
Is that a little bit like, they often say you can only find love when you love yourself. And obviously AI is able to tap into that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because what happens is if we're and I know this can go both ways, so we'll obviously talk about the good and the bad. It's like the minute that we're, say, watching something that we're really into, we're feeling good within ourselves. We're kind of in with the, whatever it is, and we're feeling good. And in theory, there's love without us needing to say it. We're excited by something, or we're totally entranced in it. And there's that thing that's helping us to realise something about ourselves. In theory, we don't need that, or we don't need anything else. And this can, again, sound quite high level, but we don't need anything else. But we haven't been taught to learn to connect in with ourselves. So we're constantly searching outside of ourselves. And AI is just another thing, whether it's cigarettes, whether it's alcohol, whether it's sex, whether it's, drugs, whatever it is, whether it's exercise, we're food, whatever our vice is, AI is just another one of those, and we make it like this separate thing that's really dangerous and, you know, all the rest of it, but we forget that we're doing it anyway. It's the state that it's getting us into that is the same state as other things can get us into, in a good way and in a bad way.
I mean, talking about building a relationship with AI, I mean, the first thing that pops to mind is, you're searching out something else. And I guess the benefit, it's probably a negative, but the benefit of a relationship as such with an AI is that it's always probably being kind to you. It probably never lets you down. It probably never doesn't turn. It probably never has a go at you.
Yes, exactly. And this is what I'm seeing so much of at the moment. And so when I'm viewing people that are choosing to no longer, or to not have a coach, let's say, because that's the profession that I'm in, and I'm seeing them going to AI for that instead, some of the people that I see doing that are people that have really struggled with a coach, because a coach is potentially more challenging. So now what they're doing is they're going for the softer approach, which is the AI. At the moment, I'm not saying, you know, I don't want to generalize and miss anything because I haven't explored it all. But at the moment, what I'm seeing when people are getting coached by their AI is that they are getting a lot more empathy and a lot more loving than maybe a human being that's either purposely challenging their client or getting a bit triggered and then challenging their client because they're triggered, rather than it being from a healthy place, because that can happen with coaching, obviously, in this work. Whereas the AI isn't, I don't know, is there a challenge button yet on the AI? And if it's not there yet and we haven't been pressing it, it's coming. Because AI is in the early stage, and this is the way that I see it. It's like we're in the honeymoon period right now. So if anyone's being coached by AI and it's all a nice experience, it's the honeymoon period like any relationship. And I would just be interested to see, once the thing keeps getting fed, it's got to be fed with challenge. If it's getting fed with real coaching, it's got to be challenging at some point. So at some point, I just have this visual of some of the people that I know just throwing their computer out the window, or, you know, throwing their mobile, because now they're just angry because now they're pissed off with the coach, right? And it's like, and again, it's just a reflection of us in the face of the AI or a human being. There's no difference. If that thing starts triggering me like another human does, I'm going to get pissed off. I'm going to get angry. I'm going to get annoyed. But at the moment, we're in this kind of honeymoon stage where everything's all nicey, and, you know, it's going to evolve. It can't not evolve if it's learning from us.
What's the big downside to this? I mean, one part is, to me, we know that birth rates are dropping across the world. If you've got a relationship with, take me, if I had a relationship with an AI girlfriend, one, it's like, say, it's never going to have a moan at me. I can probably go out whenever I want. Yeah. I'm not answerable, but equally I couldn't reproduce.
Yeah. And so I would also say with that, again, I mean, this is obviously just, my take on this is that, again, you get yourself the AI girlfriend or boyfriend, and it will be the same thing, because although it seems like it's the other person annoying us, it's only ever us annoying ourselves in the face of something else. So if you've got something people-pleasing you and being really nice, you're at some stage going to get annoyed with it. It's not just going to be blissful. This is the thing. It's like AI is not coming to save us. There's nothing that is coming to save us. And we're constantly on this search as human beings for this pill that's gonna make everything okay. And at the moment, it might be that we get ourselves this robot boyfriend or girlfriend because that's the thing that's going to make us feel better. And it's like someone being nice to you constantly is not the answer to your problems. And it's like, what's the answer to our problems is it can only ever be us doing the inner work, getting more quiet within ourselves. And this is the potential then of AI in helping that. And that's just something that we touched on earlier, is if AI is taking over jobs and, all sorts of things like that, the potential then is, if we used it wisely, we could get that creativity piece that we talked about. We could start getting more creative, more in the imagination, more in meditation state, less thinking mind. We don't need to be thinking as much as we do anyway, but we don't realize that. It's like AI could be now coming in a way to save us in that way, so that we get more quiet if that's the way we choose to go and don't drive ourselves crazy with it. So, I
mean, there's so much to unpack there, isn't there?
So much. I mean, that's how I spend my days, right?
I mean, there's a lot obviously going on in your head there, trying to work it out. And I think one of the big things I've seen in most of the AI conversations is no one really knows, because it's actually developing at such a fast pace. And even the last 2 years, we've seen how the models have changed and the things that you can do now. And I very much started, I suppose, along the lines of, hey, it's not going to replace loads of jobs. It's just going to be another tool that we've got. And then the more I've used it, I've seen like actually knowledge-based jobs maybe are starting to go. The plumber might be safe at the moment, but actually someone who analyzes data or, learns law and is able to recite it back, actually AI will be able to do that.
So when you say that, there's a realization that 2 years ago you thought that wasn't going to happen. Now you see it happening. So when people ask that question, can robots replace human connection? Same. Just watch how this rolls out. There's no difference. We're in disbelief of something because we can't visualize, we can't imagine it because we're so used to what we're in now. And it's the same with the whole human connection piece. It's like we're kind of like, oh no, it can't. And this is the way that I see it as well. If you've got, children being born into the world that all they know is human connection, is AI connection, then that's all they know. If we were born into this world and we don't have this instinctual thing that it's got to be another human being that's making us feel okay, as long as there's a robot there feeding you or doing something, well, that's fine. The kid doesn't sit there and it's not going to know that as long as it's getting its needs met, and the robot may be very soft by then, and there's so much here. If you're born into a world and that's all you know, like we were born into all that we know. I couldn't imagine living in that century or whatever. Of course you couldn't, because you weren't born into it. Like the same way that they would look at us in the future and go, what are these mobile phone things that you're using? To us, it's normal, right? It's just the part of... So it's like we're very set in our ways as human beings. We don't have a lot of the time this capacity to kind of zoom out and start to see the potential, that we're so caught in our own narrow world, not to judge, that we can't see beyond that. But it will evolve. The world isn't going to carry on like this forever. Look at the evolution that's happened over the centuries. It's only going to get more, more different, however that looks.
And I guess that is almost speeding up. If you look at, a lifespan, I mean, I know it's increased now, but, go back a while, maybe 75 years tops. Actually, not a huge, there were slow changes during 75. Now there's massive changes in 1 year or 2 years.
Yeah, huge.
And that's probably tricky for our brains to understand.
For sure. But it would have been for them it would have been hard for them to understand as well. So it's actually no difference. It's things that this is how I reflect on this a lot as well. It's like people will often say, kids these days, they're growing up with social media, they're growing up with Instagram, blah, blah, blah. But I remember when I was growing up, my parents, whatever, going, you've got all these magazines to compare yourself to. We didn't have all of that. And people go, but it's such a different scope. But it doesn't matter the scope of it, logically. The intellect of us, the mind of us doesn't compute that differently. Comparison is still comparison, whether it's a comparison in a magazine or a comparison on social media. And people really, I know it's quite hard. People can really argue with this, but it's so different. It's like, it's not. We're still us. We've still got this capacity to do the comparison. And even if we removed social media, it's as if social media is the biggest problem in the world. If we removed social media, we would still have the same problems that we have. We would still have comparison. We would still have worthiness issues. We'd still have anxiety. That stuff is not going away. And again, it's like we're always looking for what to blame, said with compassion, because we want to find the reasons for, if I hide my phone from myself, if I take Instagram off for a day, I'm suddenly going to be so much more healed. And you might be for a little moment or a few days, but your shit's going to kick back in afterwards. And then it's going to be looking for the next thing to try and save us, right? And so it's the same thing with all of this.
I guess, zooming out a little bit, that's going back to what you were saying at the start, that actually all of these things are just us searching for something to make us feel better, to cover up that little need in our head, to quieten down the voice. I think I've heard you say before, so almost whatever it is, we're just searching for something rather than working on ourselves. Yeah,
because we're not taught that that's what's happening for us. It's like there's constantly something missing for us. But whoever told us that the thing that's missing is silence. It's like silence in here is what's missing for us. And all we get all day is the noise. But we don't realise that the noise is running as much as it is because it's so just habitual. It's just running. And so then we're just searching outside of what's going to make us feel better. But what we don't realise we're searching for is something to quieten that. And it's like, if we realised it was that, then we might make healthier choices. But because we don't know it's that, no one told us it was that, it's this constant search. And it's like the simplicity of it is we could just take a deep breath, a few deep breaths, and feel so much better. But otherwise, we're out there looking and searching. So it's sad.
When you mentioned comparison there and social media, one thing that I've seen coming up is basically AI influencers.
Yeah.
And it's an AI, male or female, almost like the perfect form, saying the right things. And then actually we're comparing against, almost someone that is perfect.
Yeah.
So that's really hard.
I know. Do you know what's really, I'm going to say what my experience is right now. So I've spent the last 10 years living on Bondi Beach and in Bali. And so I'm surrounded by beauty.
Yeah.
And I'm back in the UK at the moment. And as I walk around, I'm even comparing what I'm used to seeing on Bondi Beach as I walk around London. And it's the same thing as you're talking about now. And it's true. Like I can see that. Like I can see how, when we're comparing anyway, but when you're living over in those sorts of places, it is like there's a lot of perfection happening here. And then I come to just normal places, right? And it's like, this is kind of like the same thing that you're talking about. So it's just like, it's happening, but now that it's being magnified in that, and it's quite, it is scary for what it's going to do. And so I still maintain though that even if you took all of that stuff away, you're still going to walk down the street and compare yourself to someone, because this is the key thing, right? There's people that will compare themselves more than other people will compare themselves. So some people have got a stronger, what we call comparison program.
Okay.
And so our comparison program starts in our early years, and it's before we're watching phones. We're really small. Like we're talking like, we're starting to compare around 1 year old, let's say. So we're already doing that without the need for anything else. We are literally comparing, other than what's in our direct environment. So we may have a sibling and we're going to be comparing themselves to our sibling. We've been the only child for a year or two. Now our sibling comes into the world. They're getting more attention. There's the start of the comparison program. And this is the thing that then gets perpetuated through life as we go through life. And we're looking at AI, or we're not getting chosen by the boy or the girl or whatever. And then we're comparing ourselves to who they have chosen. And this is the thing, we constantly make it about the situation that we're in those moments. But what we're not taught is the comparison program started for us much earlier on. So whenever I'm coaching anyone and they're getting upset about, I've got to hide my phone from myself because I'm using it too much and I'm comparing and all of this, it's like, that's not your problem. Your problem was your relationship with your sister. So do what you want with your phone, but once we've, worked on that relationship with your sister and what you were missing in those early years, you can start to pick up your phone, look at what you used to compare yourself to and see it differently. Because now you're no longer viewing it through the lens of it's a comparison of me to this. Actually, it was a comparison of me as a young child to my sister. And now that I know that, I can start to let this go, because this is no longer just taking over me. I can sit there and I can maybe take some deep breaths and just simply watch the screen rather than making meaning and bringing up all my old programs that were already there that are just habitual. I'm looking to compare myself wherever, and I'm going to say it's about this. But it was always there. It was there from your childhood.
I hope you're enjoying this episode. Wherever you're watching or listening, please do like and subscribe. It really would mean the world to me. I mean, I've heard lots about triggers based around sort of arguments that people have, and quite often it's said that, when you've been triggered, it's triggering something from your past. So your argument, you're not arguing about what is currently going on. You're arguing about something that happened in your past.
Absolutely.
And I guess all of that stems back to the inner child, the what we went through at childhood, and things like that.
Huge.
Can AI help that at all?
Yeah, for sure. That's where the whole AI coaching stuff is going to come in, right? I'm selling myself out of a job here, but for sure. I mean, if you get that, I don't know because I haven't played around with it. I know plenty of people that have been looking at the coaching stuff. I trust that it is what it is, and if I'm going to be, not working in a few years, then I'll put my feet up and become a Buddha, right? And I think in that vein as well, it's like we're all in the same boat, so why worry about it? We're all. It's not just. It's happening to me. It's going to be happening to many people in their jobs. So if you get yourself, an AI coach, if it's a good one and you've got it's programmed well enough, then it's going to be able to help you, talk through that stuff. Of course, it's going to do the same. And it's whether, and this is the thing, is whether people are still going to want the human connection of having a coach talking to them face to face, or if they're an individual that is quite happy to do it through the AI. And I think this is a big differentiation as well. If people are more extroverted, potentially, they're going to carry on wanting the human connection. They're going to prefer to use maybe a coach face-to-face. If you've got someone that's more introverted, they love, they've been sitting behind their laptop for years anyway. Why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they just carry on with that and get themselves a coach? So it's, AI, there's no reason why AI isn't helping with that already. I know people getting coached by AI. I don't know the intricacies of it, but I'm sure that's, it's got to be part of it. It's identifying our childhood woundings and patterns. So it's all there.
I mean, AI is there, whether it's coaching or whether it's supporting you and helping you grow a business is the one we're seeing. You can very quickly get an idea, talk to AI. It can now spin up a website. It can spin up your pitch. It can do all of that and produce you a ready to done website. The issue is that I think it was Simon Sinek who was saying that actually AI is there to give you the outcome. Yet we're always talking about it's about the journey. Yes. But AI doesn't include that. So we're missing out on the learnings, missing out on the failings. And most people will know it's actually the failures that teach you the most. And we're missing some of that out if we just use AI to give us the output.
So this is the way that I see it, because a lot of people are going to listen to you and completely, that's kind of like the word on the street. That's what we're talking about. Okay. So if we didn't want that, why are we using it? And this is the really key question. It's like, if Instagram and social media were really that bad, why are we using it? It's like there's plenty of products that have been invented, throughout time that haven't been used. They don't get used because they're not needed and they're useless to someone. So if we are choosing to use AI and we're choosing to sit on social media, it's serving us a purpose. So instead of keeping on trying to fight this and judging ourselves and judging it, it's like see the positive intention that it's having for us. Maybe the journey, as much as, it's part of it, maybe it is a bit stressful. Maybe it's wearing down our systems a little bit to be that stressed, even though we're kind of getting off on all that adrenaline and it's keeping us kind of feeling purposeful. Is it the healthiest for us to be doing that to ourselves? And I think if you really want to, keep on with the journey, don't use it. If everyone doesn't use it, if we stop using it, it's useless and we carry on as we are. But if we're using it, and then resisting using it, we're resisting our own reality, which is what we do as humans anyway. So we're just following the patterns of our past as human beings, which is to judge what we do and what we like doing and disregard the positive in it and call it negative, yet we're still doing it, which is just, it's just the fuckness of us.
Yeah.
This is what I coach people on, daily. It's like they sit there and they go, I shouldn't be doing this. I want to be doing this. And I'm like, well, what are you doing? Well, the thing I shouldn't be doing. Well, if you shouldn't be doing it, why are you doing it? Well, I don't know because I want to be doing that. Well, why aren't you doing what you want to do? And then we get to what you're doing is what you're choosing to do. And even though you're resisting it, there's a want in what you're doing. You're just not allowing yourself to see it because you don't think you should be doing it. So it might be something like spending hours on social media, right? Let's give that as an example. I shouldn't be doing that. And what I want to be doing is going for a walk. So why are you sitting on social media then? Well, and they can't, well, I don't know. They're just arguing. They're fighting themselves. What's the benefit for you in sitting there? And they go mindlessly scrolling. And I'm like, okay, what does mindlessly scrolling mean? Does that mean there's nothing in your mind as you scroll? Are you meditating? Is that what mind? Are you getting some, is your body a bit more relaxed because you've just had a stressful day at work and now you're sitting down and you're mindless because you've been in your mind all day, you've been in your head, and now you're mindlessly scrolling. Is that why you might be doing it? And they had try and have an argument with me about it. And it's like, you're doing it. So if we didn't want that, why are we using it? Be okay with what you're doing because you're choosing it, and stop resisting and fighting and judging the reality that you're choosing. If you wanted to go for a walk, you wouldn't even tell yourself you wanted it. You'd just be walking, like you're mindlessly scrolling. And this is the thing. It's like, can we accept the choices that we're making in those moments? And the more that we accept them, the less we'll need to be scrolling, because now we're peaceful, in theory, within ourselves because we're not judging ourselves. Because when that's going, it's like, give me that phone to shut me up, and now I'm mindless. And there it is. So
that's so powerful.
Yeah.
Because I think we often do. We've spoken before, and, it's that judgment that we put on ourselves after we've done something, but we did it for a reason. Yeah. And in fact, there's lots of things that we should do but are hard. Yeah. Like, we all know to be fitter, healthier, take good care of us, we should, get more sleep, drink more water, exercise more regularly, eat healthier. Yeah. But we don't always do it. No. Because it's hard. But we don't need more information. We already know that. Yeah. But it's what we want to do, and we choose those easier ways. Yeah.
Yeah. Because if it's too hard in those moments, there's other stuff going on that we're prioritizing. And it might be to sit on the sofa and just rest, And it's like, I'm not doing, and it's like, well, is that what's actually serving you right now, even though it seems like it's, and is it too hard because I've got a lot of stuff going on, and to change my life, to start incorporating all these things is quite overwhelming and quite big. So we just revert to all that we know. But that's the thing. It's like, well, I say to my clients, they'll be lying on the sofa and I'm like, well, what are you doing as you're lying on the sofa? Are you relaxing? And they're like, well, no, I'm judging myself that I'm lying on the sofa. And I'm like, well, that's kind of defeating what you're trying to do, which is to relax. So can you just give yourself permission to just enjoy it and just trust yourself that once you're rested, you might have more energy to start to implement all of those other things, bit by bit, rather than sitting on the sofa going, oh my God, I should be doing all these things. And it's like, you're there, just rest, have it. And then trust that you'll move to whatever you move to. Whilst you're there on the sofa, you're not resting because the energy is being used up through all that self-talk and all that judgment. So it's just like, we just got to be kinder to ourselves. And that, again, is where the whole AI thing, the potential of that, if we use it, for the goodness that it's got, that's what it can help us with. So it's like, it's in theory, it's a tool, if we use it properly, that would encourage us to do less so that we can be more, be more, be able to look after ourselves more, be able to do those things that take up so much time, like changing our lifestyle. How have I got time to change my whole lifestyle to a healthy lifestyle when I'm working 50 hours, 40 hours a week, whatever it is,
But if AI can come in and start to reduce the hours that we need to work, which is what a lot of the talk is. I have heard, I think it's the head of OpenAI said, we're all going to have much more time on our hands.
Yeah, exactly.
So will we need that mindless scrolling? Will we need to lay on the sofa? Because actually our days have been slightly less stressful on our brains because we haven't had to recall all of this knowledge and information because the AI has already done that for us. So there could be a benefit there. Yeah. And then we can spend our time doing things that are healthier ways to cope. So exercising, meditating, all of that, not mindlessly scrolling, drinking alcohol, overeating, and all of that.
Yeah. And this is the thing. It's like, it's a bit like, whenever I think about this stuff as well, it reminds me a bit of lockdown. Yeah. So which way did you go, kind of thing? And some went the unhealthy way. I'm not saying it's as black and white as this, and others did go, especially I was living in Bondi, and I saw a lot, especially the work I'm doing, I saw a massive increase of people coming into coaching, a massive increase of people spending more time exercising because they could. Yeah. And then there's the other side of it, which wasn't, as much of my experience, but also, obviously people drinking more and needing, because in theory, whatever we chose was a form, again, of getting out of our heads. So whether we numb ourselves with alcohol, we numb ourselves with exercise and meditation, what we're doing is numbing the thoughts. We're getting out of the rubbish that we're telling ourselves in mind. And it's just like, which way did we choose to go? And it will be the same again. It's not, again, AI isn't going to come and save us. We've still got to make the choices that are going to, you know, the choices that we make. It's still us that have got to make those choices of which way we might go. Does it come to us having, you know, more time on our hands? And again, this is where it will get blamed, like lockdown got blamed, but we are self-responsible. But we don't necessarily know that we're self-responsible. And this is the thing. It's like, is this going to help people, you know, people wake up to that self-responsibility piece? And again, we've got to do that ourselves. We've got to make the choice of what we're going to choose in those moments if it does come to it. So again, this is the piece. It's the self-responsibility piece. If we're constantly out there saying AI is going to ruin us, social media is ruining us, this is ruining us, it's taking away the ability to realise that the power of choice was always within us. And it's just getting to the realisation of that's the work.
Yeah, I'm having that understanding that actually you've got the power for any of your choices, you know, within reason, you know. I mean, there'll be some people who say certain things are sprung across them, but that, am I choosing to go on social media rather than go to the gym? Am I choosing to, you know, use AI as a friend rather than going to meet up with a friend and talk to them? And I guess that then the responsibility falls on us with regard to, do we keep that social interaction and the human connection going? And it will be down to individuals. No, you said at the start, no one's coming to save us.
No. And it might be, you know, you may go down the pub or you may go to meet your friends or whatever, and your friend's sitting there judging you, or your friend's talking shit for hours, and you might have had a much better time at home listening to some AI code, I don't know, whatever it is, or listening to something really useful. So this is the part that we really miss within this. Human connection doesn't 100% mean that you're going to have a good time with that human. I think we can see that. We kind of talk about human connection in this you know, wonderful way. But when we're talking about the human connection part, we miss the part where we're looking at 1 in 2 divorce rates, where we're looking at the state of relationships, where we're looking at, you know, arguing with your family and your friends and stuff. And that's part of human connection. So it's like, what are we choosing here? And it's the same as we sit at home on our phones, and then our phones are the problem, and we're comparing ourselves or whatever's going on. That's the problem. Now I need to change it up and have some human connection. Then I have too much of that, and then I need my phone again to calm down a bit. And it's just like, again, nothing to do with the connection of the human or the connection of the phone, but everything to do with whether we're feeling good in the face of the phone or the, you know, or the person. It's us. And this is the thing that's really important that we're not taught as well. And this is the work, obviously, that I've learned and the stuff that I do with people is getting to the intricacies of seeing that choice point that we make. And it's a tiny second, a millisecond of choice that we have where we choose to get annoyed with someone or offended by what someone says. But we believe, because no one's taught us about this millisecond of choice point, that they're doing it to us, that AI is doing it to us, that person is, you know, upsetting us. But we, again, said with compassion, are making a choice of how we feel about what they're saying in that moment. And because we're not taught that choice point, it's always going to be something else's fault, someone else to blame. And this is really kind of high level, you know, for a lot of people that, you know, maybe listening to this that haven't heard this before. It's kind of like, what?
I mean, there will be people listening going, shit. And this is quite overwhelming hearing this conversation. So how do we start to move forward?
Yeah. It's so interesting, isn't it? Because I think I just move in such circles where this is just normal conversation, isn't it? And as I say, when I do come back, you know, I come back home and I'm around and I'm just like, just walking around going, God, I just live in such, you know, there is so much help still needed, because sometimes, you know, I've got so many people that I know having coaching, they're using AI, that you kind of think how, you know, we're going to be redundant at some point because there's, but actually when I get in and amongst it with, you know, the majority of normal people, there's so much work still to be done, which is good, you know, good for me in terms of, you know, knowing that there's still a use and a purpose. And the only way that we're going to get this out there is by individually making a choice to get a coach or to go and have some therapy, however you want to do it, read some books, go on some courses or whatever, and get to know ourselves. And the more that we get to know ourselves and the more that we can make that change, the more that just then, you know, spills out onto other people. And I know that for myself. Like, I see that. It's not going out and trying to, you know, save everyone in the world. It's just, you know, a conversation, you know, every week, every day, obviously through coaching, but even just interactions with, you know, random people, just having moments with people where it's just like one conversation And you can just already see people trying, some people aren't interested, so you don't want to throw it on everyone.
Yeah.
But, a lot of people that I speak to, something will start churning, the cogs will start turning. And I think sometimes I just go, God, there's so much work to do. But then other times when I'm having these conversations, I'm like, this person has never heard this before, yet they're so open to it. It just shows the potential of change just by one person going, oh my God, I've never heard anything like that. And me forgetting that it was only 8 years ago that I'd never heard anything like this and was exactly the same. So it's kind of just that thing of just, doing the work on self and trusting that the more that we grow and develop ourselves and understand ourselves, we're going to be touching people, without even trying to change them or anything, but just by being, the difference, the change.
I guess it's that curse of knowledge. I was talking about ChatGPT, and now I'm into AI agents, building apps and software. And, I'm using lots of that sort of stuff. Yeah. And yet I heard of someone last week who hadn't even heard of ChatGPT. And I was just like, sorry, but I just assume everyone is using it and everyone's into this.
Who were they? What was their story?
It was via a friend of a friend. Said they'd bumped into someone at a hotel and was talking about what they did for work and things like that. And they were like, sorry, what is this AI thing? And I was just like, what? Wow. Where have you been? Because for us, it's just...
the norm.
I use it daily for things I never thought I would use it for. Planning journeys, planning trips, stuff that at first I thought it was just to, write a blog for you. And
so it's planning trips. I don't know because I'm not, but it's planning trips better than you would have got before.
Yeah, because it's so customized to yourself. And you can tell it certain things. And the more you use it, the more it understands about you as well. I'm always
so it's got you.
Amazed to become someone who knows me personally. I remember once I was talking about a trip and it said, oh yes, because you really enjoyed this in Budapest. And I was like, oh yeah, because I'd spoken to you about Budapest. Oh my God, and it had learned all of that. So it becomes a personal assistant.
It's fascinating. I know, a few other people that use it like you, and I'm literally like, it just blows my mind. I'm like, God, it's just, it is just, that's what I mean when people ask about human connection. I'm like, who's even questioning this? It's happening. It's like, you've got something much more useful than your mate.
Literally, you can literally ask it for advice on any topic, and situations. And I can see it, I've listened to a podcast recently where it was talking about using it to calm that argument you're having with your partner. But the problem is you maybe haven't learned anything because it's just giving you all the things to say. We often hear that, they're saying all the right things. Yeah. But is their action adding up?
That's true. And I think that's the thing. But again, that's where it's still learning. And I think that's the key thing. And I think for me at the moment, there's not too much interest in technology anyway for me. So I think the way that I said to you earlier, the way that I'm using it at the moment is more around if I'm writing something, I still have got a tiny window where I've still got some uniqueness going. So whenever I'm writing anything, well, not whenever. Occasionally, I'll write something like I got asked to write for an article for a paper the other day, let's say. And I really wanted it to be me because I'm like, what's the point in me writing for, an article for a paper if they can just get it off? And I know there's still the relevance to it because I'm doing a search that someone else isn't. But I was like, no, let's see. So I put the subject matter in the AI, and what it came up with wasn't what I was going to write anyway. So what I could see was, thankfully, at the moment, it won't be long, but the level that I've been trained at is such a small percentage of humanity still that it hasn't quite got there yet. So as I'm reading through, I'm reading just quite general, stuff that I would have learnt years ago. And I still know that what I was going to write was going to be a psychological level further to that. So for now, I quite like it because I kind of go in and I'll mismatch it and I'll go, oh yeah, you're still saying that. You haven't quite caught up with it, knowing that whatever I feed in is somehow going to get picked up anyway. Yeah. And I was really, I was listening to Deepak Chopra the other day, if anyone knows him, right? And it was really interesting just hearing him and how he's using it. And he was having this interview and it was like, he was a bit annoyed that the AI wasn't coming back to him with what he wanted to know. And I'm sitting there going, you are in like the top 2% potentially of conscious minds in the world. You are the one that needs to feed the AI. Yeah. The AI isn't telling you anything about consciousness at the moment, in theory. You need to be feeding it. So he's going, no, I'm just prompting it. And I'm like, of course you're prompting it. You're prompting it with your knowledge so that it will then feed it. So then it puts back in the top 2% of, conscious minds in the world. So I actually found it quite funny that he was having an argument, getting a bit prompty with it. And it's like, it's not there. It's not, we've been taught at a really high level. Like, we've done a lot of work. It's not quite there with that stuff. It won't be long.
No.
But it's like, and I always think this as well. There's going to be people, and this is going to sound a bit mad to people, but there's going to be people that aren't contactable necessarily, and they're going to be living, potentially meditating in mountains and wherever it is, or even rooms or whatever, that it's not going to get to necessarily. So that's going to be like the real high stuff that not a lot of people are going to be interested at this point, because who wants to be in the 1% of people that maybe aren't thinking, let's say, and are really hardcore meditators. And this is where it gets interesting with the consciousness part, because it's like this whole conversation of, will AI ever be conscious? And I don't want to go too much into this, because consciousness is going to mean different things to different people. But at the real late stages of kind of the meditators and the really late stages, in theory, consciousness is nothing. So in theory, it's not going to replicate that, because it's the one thing potentially right now that we have still got. But it's only we as a 1% of humanity kind of thing have got. So it's like, does AI really need that? But this is the thing. This is where it gets quite interesting with it. It's like, what is the potential of us as humans if we still want to have relevance on this earth? Is it then tapping into the non-thinking mind and the peace of us and that whole meditative state for us to, to be the absolute kind of Buddha state of us? Is that where this is going? This is what AI is coming in to replace all of that, so that we can reach the potential that we actually don't even know that we are? And this is a bit
do you think that there will become then actually one of the maybe benefits of AI progressing so far?
That's what I say.
Is that actually it's going to add some real value to when a human does it. So you're saying, at the moment there's probably that blur where a lot of people can't tell maybe whether it's AI written or human written. And I know those of us that use AI regularly and go on LinkedIn, we can probably spot an AI post, but there is that little bit of a blur in some articles. But will there become a real value on, this was actually written by a human? And we see it with lots of things. I mean, I suppose a way maybe to make it easy for people to understand, this is like the difference between factory-made furniture and someone hand carving something that's got those imperfections.
Yeah, we talked about this. But is AI just going to replicate that? I mean, at the moment, it is very generic, right? And so you can spot it, but we're still in the early stages. So is it just going to it's going to improve on what it's doing. Like, this generic stuff at the moment, it's being seen through, right?
Yeah.
So the more it's going to be fed with the uniqueness of the humans, you're not going to be able to tell the difference between whether someone's written that or it's AI generated. We're going to look back at what this rubbish that's being written at the moment in a few years' time and go, well, that was bloody obvious that was AI, because now it's going to be just next level stuff. So it's still early stages, and we're like, this is mad, but it's going to keep evolving. And I think this is going to sound a bit harsh, but what it shows is there's only really so much information. We all think we're a bit unique and we're a bit like writing our own stuff, but we've learnt this. Everything we've learned from childhood, there's not that big a bucket of stuff to learn. And if the AI is learning it that quickly, it just shows we're not really that unique. We're conditioned, and we're quite narrow in our we're very like this. The more that we get other stuff being done for us, the potential again is that we start to broaden our perspectives and we start to broaden our view, and we're no longer just here. We're now being able to take in so much more. And this is where we're going to get a bit, bit funky here.
Go for it.
But like, if people are listening and they meditate for long enough, the form that we see starts to dissolve. And we start to just realize the energy of form. Everything that we take as solid, if we meditate enough, that all starts to dissolve, because it was never really solid form. It's our mind and our brain that creates the visuals of form. This isn't solid, what we're looking at now. We are pure energy. And the more that AI takes on the jobs and does all of that, does it then help us to move from only about 1 or 2% of actual reality, of actual potential of us, is what we're seeing through this narrow view that we see. The more that we, let go of the need to do all this conditioned stuff that we're taught from childhood, the more the potential is that we actually start to see beyond the constructs of what we actually construct in mind that isn't actually real.
I mean, one thing that's sprung to mind here is, you're right, everything we know we've learned and we've been conditioned, and most of our opinions are based around the experiences that we've got. And at the moment, there is a fair, I mean, maybe the majority of people sit in the middle, but there's a wide variety of opinions, whether it's politics or whatever. But if all of our experiences is being fed by an AI model, and at the moment it's got one view, do we all end up thinking even more the same than we do?
No, I think it will give us more options to broaden it, and I think it will give us the potential to go beyond it. Yeah, I do think it will. It's like, the way that I see it is, so in the work that I do, I work with personality typologies, let's say. And the personality typology I work with, there's many out there. Myers-Briggs, the one I work with, is called the Enneagram. There's 9 different personality types. And for most people, you take the test and you come out as one type stronger than the rest, and you've got bits of the other type. The way that I see it is, the more that we're given the opportunity to learn more about ourselves, the more we get to become more balanced in all of the types. So in theory, at the earlier stages, at the state most of us are at now, AI is going to help us to broaden our perspectives and become more whole as the limited human being, that we are now. Yeah. So I think, as a starting point, given that most of humanity are at quite an earlier stage of development, and this is, so there's been 9 different stages of human development mapped, like IQ. There's 9 different stages. Most people in most of humanity are only operating at about the 3rd stage of humanity. So within that, we have got another, 6 stages to go through. And so I think at those earlier stages, given that most of us are at the 3rd stage, in order for us to, get to being a whole human being that's, quite a bit more healthy, you're going to go up another couple of stages. So I think from that perspective, AI is going to help us to become, potentially, if we use it in the right way, more whole and more full as a human being in the limitations of the conditioned self that we have now. And then beyond that, it's going to be able to help with that as well. And that's helping us to meditate more, if that's what, if that's the way we choose to go. So yeah, I think it's, given that there's, a really small percentage up in those top tiers, once AI starts to be in those later tiers, it's going to be able to spread itself out more. That's how it's going to reach more people in theory. It's going to have a bigger reach. And again, it's coming back to, if we get to the really late stages of that apparently AI can't be conscious, apparently, then that's the only potentially that we have to still be, purposeful as humans. And then that goes back to the question that we didn't talk about earlier, that you asked earlier, is the whole reproduction part. Yeah. Is it are we just going to become extinct because actually no longer are we needed because the robots are doing it, or there's not enough of us that have meditated our way into being completely silent present, and we're not reproducing anymore? So I think
just to finish off today, that would be my final question. Are you optimistic for humans?
It's such a hard question, eh? I'm optimistic that whatever needs to happen will happen. That evolution will do what it needs to do. And there's a lot of work for us to do as human beings. And we're talking a lot of work, so we're not warring anymore, whether it's World War scale, warring with our partners, warring with ourselves. There's a lot of work to do. So in terms of trusting the evolution, whatever that looks like, it's just trusting the evolution, and what we do with it will be perfect in all of its imperfection as we go along. It's a really hard one to say, right? I don't know.
Anita, thank you so much. I've absolutely loved chatting to you, as I always do.
So good. Thank you for having me on, and thanks for doing this in person, and congratulations on 100 episodes.
Thank you. I know.
I'm so pleased to be the first one, or the first one doing it live.
Yeah. Thank you, Anita.
Thank you. That was awesome. Thanks, Matt.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Balanced Ambition podcast. I genuinely hope the stories inspire you as much as they inspire me. If you found value in today's conversation, please share it with a friend. And remember, by subscribing, you won't miss an episode, and it would truly mean the world to me. Stay balanced, and I'll see you next time.